friends more times than we know. Watched the one we love as they turn to go. Felt the ache in the silence, the weight in the air, and smiled through the distance as if we weren't scared. Held tight to photos, letters and names, packed up our lives and began once again. We serve in the shadows, we carry the weight, with stories that matter, don't let them wait. Every story matters, from bases to war zones, from tearful reunions to cold nights alone. Spouses and veterans, hearts that won't quit, telling the truth about all of it. This life we live is hard and real, but it's where we find the strength to heal. We've kissed them goodbye at the edge of the gate, marked birthdays alone while the little ones wait. We've buried the brave, stood silent and still, and kept holding on with nothing but will. Every story matters, from loss to return, from lessons we carry to the things that still burn. Spouses and veterans, hearts that won't quit, giving a voice to the lives that we live. This life we live is worn but strong, and every story deserves its song. Spouses and veterans, hearts that won't quit, telling the truth about all of it. This life we live is hard and real, giving a voice to the lives that we live. But this life we live is warm but strong, and every story deserves its song.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife, and I am really excited about this book club. It's going to be a new thing, and that, y'all, is something I've been working on for a while. It is the full intro for the podcast with the video, and this is the first time I'm rolling it out for all y'all. So I'm really glad to have you guys here for this. I have a really amazing military spouse who is joining me today. So I'm going to bring her on stage. Leah.
Hello.
Hey. So thank you for joining me for this.
Of course.
I love this book. What's your feelings about the book Persuasion?
Oh, I have been a big fan of Jane Austen for a very long time. Read most of her books, seen all the old, BBC versions of them all. But Persuasion definitely is on my top one. I even re-listened to it before this so I could just get a refresher, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's one that I didn't actually have on my radar like forever. I've read almost all of her other books, and then I encountered this one when I found a collection of all of her writings, and I'm like, how did I not know that this book existed? So that was really cool for me. Just so y'all know, the reason why we are not on camera is we both are moms and we got little kiddos, and so we don't have people popping up on screen. We're just going to be audio today, but I have something I put together for the discussion. So, okay. A lot of people have read Persuasion. If you haven't read Persuasion, here's a quick synopsis. It is Jane Austen's last work. She actually didn't officially publish it and finish it in her lifetime. It was found in her writings after she passed away, and her family published it for her. So we don't know if this is exactly what, she intended, but at the same time, this is a really cool book because it's got a perspective in it that it's got more military in it than most people think. So we're taking this from a different angle, y'all. We're gonna pull out some of the aspects that maybe you've not considered before. So here's the overview. Main characters are Anne Elliot and Captain Wentworth, and spoilers from here on out, y'all. Spoiler alert. If you've not read the book and you want to not have it spoiled, go read the book and come back. But Anne Elliot and Captain Frederick Wentworth, before he becomes a captain, they are dating, and he proposes, and they're 19, and her family convinces her not to marry him because he's going to be going off to war. So he was about to join the Navy and become a captain, but his family wasn't wealthy, and her family was wealthy. And they said, he's poor and he's about to go off to war. And if he dies, then you're going to be a poor widow. We don't want this for you. So they talk her out of it. And 8 years later, all of a sudden, guess who shows up in her life again? Captain Wentworth. So I always thought that was kind of funny because when I first read it, I don't know how you felt about this, Leah, but when I first read it, I'm like, dude, that's so harsh. Why would this family do that? Blah, 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 blah. And I still don't think it might have been the right thing. But now more and more, when I look at it from the lens of a military spouse, I'm like, oh, I can kind of get why they would say, hey, are you sure you want to marry this guy if he's going to possibly die next week? So
yeah, I could see that. And how young they were, which was probably common back then, but kind of applied today. Today, it's like, you're young love. You don't know the hardships that are coming ahead of you, kind of thing.
Yeah. And so Napoleonic Wars, it wasn't just the Napoleonic Wars. We know that Captain Wentworth, his brother-in-law, an admiral, was in the Battle of Trafalgar. And we know that he was in different places. But we know at one point, his brother-in-law was in the West Indies fighting, and that would have been the War of 1812. So not everyone realizes the Napoleonic Wars and the War of 1812 happened at the same time. And the War of 1812 with the United States happened because of the Napoleonic Wars. Britain started stealing our ships and our merchantmen to fight in their war with France. And we're like, hey, dude, that's not cool. Don't touch our boats. And the War of 1812 kicked off. So, yeah, the thing is, with Jane Austen's books, the War of 1812 is going on. The Napoleonic War is going on. You always see these military characters, but she doesn't really focus on the war. She more focuses on the quality of those people and what they're going through and how it affects them and these different aspects of the time, which the more as I look at it as a military spouse, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's tons of military stuff in this. Leah, what's your, once I pointed out and when we were talking about it, when you were rereading it again, what was your take on all of the different aspects of military characters and things?
Well, I had this good thought that this came to my mind, and it said, naval officers are portrayed as hardworking, honorable, adaptable, and deserving of respect. I think that was her way of showing that these are good. He was a good man. Like, it wasn't like, oh, he was just a soldier. Him fighting in those wars, it showed what type of person he was. And I think that's kind of what I took out of it, that, people even today who fight for our country, they deserve respect, and they're hardworking, adaptable. Like, there's just so many characteristics of people who are in the military. And I think that's what she was trying to portray for Captain Wentworth.
Yeah. Well, and then Anne's father gets upset about an admiral renting his house because he was like, well, the military, I'd hate to be associated with anyone in the military because it allows people of undue distinction to, be raised above them. And also they end up having like deformities. They end up not being as handsome. And I'm sitting there going, wow, that's really shallow.
Well, yeah,
Massively shallow.
her father is definitely very interesting character.
Yeah, he really is a very shallow person. And it's funny because her mom's best friend, Lady Elliot, no, Lady oh, I just blanked.
Oh.
Anyway, her mom's best friend didn't want her getting married to a Navy captain because she's like, oh, I don't want him to die on you. But her dad didn't want her to marry Captain Wentworth because he's like, oh, because he's poor and that's going to then make him important and poor people shouldn't be important. I'm like, wow, that's okay. Fun. But then he comes back at the end of the war and all of a sudden he's a millionaire. He's rich.
Mhm.
He's got a status. He's got money. And now all of a sudden they're looking at him differently. And when the admiral takes over their house and is renting their estate, they're like, oh, well, it's an admiral. So that's okay. And I think it's hysterical that they were so snobbish to these people. And then up until then they had money and now all of a sudden they want their money. They're like, okay, we'll be nice to you because you got money.
Yeah, well, they lost all their money. So it's like, it's just an interesting way to look at it, that to be that snobby just because of a title when they really didn't have anything either. They had lost all their money pretty much.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, you got a title, but you don't got money. They may not have a title, but they've got money. So, because we've got two people watching, have you guys had a chance to read this book? What do you think of this book? Put in the comments. Let us know what you guys think of the, of Persuasion. Do you have a favorite character? Going into this though, there's multiple characters. You've got the Admiral and Mrs. Croft. So I'm going over here. We've got more military characters. We've got Admiral and Mrs. Croft, Sophia, and Sophia is Captain Wentworth's sister. So they rent out the Elliots' home, and then you've got Captain Wentworth's friends, Captain Harville and his wife, and then Captain Benwick, James Benwick. And they go through a lot of dynamics. There's a lot of conversations that talk about military life. And Leah, as you were reading this again, like, what was your take on those conversations, the way they portrayed what it was like for military families, Navy families in this wartime back then?
I was thinking of Mrs. Croft because she just was saying that, like, they don't think like women should be on ships, they can't handle it. And she just was talking about like how she was on a ship with her husband and she did fine, like just kind of showing how resilient and strong we are as military spouses and what she could handle. So I thought that was interesting. When I was reading it again, it said she was 38 and I was thinking she was way older than that. And I was like, oh, she's younger than me in this book. But just showing their resilience, that they could handle hard things when they thought women were too, soft. They couldn't do those kind of things.
Yeah, well, and that opinion was not even standard amongst the Navy because Sophia and the Admiral are like, yeah, no, wives can be on ship. It's fine. Whereas Captain Wentworth is like, oh, I don't ever want a woman on my ship. And that really was very common in the British Navy at the time. I didn't realize this when I first read it, but later as I was like looking into this time period more, there were captains that would allow officers' wives to be on ship. And then there were captains that wouldn't. And usually it was only the captain, the lieutenant, like this, second in command, the carpenter, the doctor, those sorts of people that would be allowed to have their spouse on, or their kids. Sometimes there were even kids on Navy vessels. And that's the thing that like we don't always take into consideration. They would often go off to sea sometimes at like age 10 or 11. And sometimes they would go later on, but this was not an easy career. And Jane Austen covers some of this in some of her other books, but it's an uncertain career. There is danger, but I love what Sophia says. She's like, I would much rather be with my husband and go through it with him than be in a safe place. Because at one point the war gets pretty bad and he ships her home. And she spends the whole time just stressed out and panicked and not able to sleep and worried about him. And she's like, I'd much rather be with him and go through the danger than be left behind to worry. And I feel like sometimes as military spouses now with deployments, there's times where I'm like, it's really hard to be left behind. And that's what she's talking about. She's talking a deployment. Her husband deployed without her into a war zone, and she had to stay behind. And she goes through her feelings on that.
And I couldn't even imagine, because like me and my husband talk about this all the time with him being deployed currently, that we're so grateful that we can communicate on a daily basis, where, you know, she relied on letters, and probably far and few in between were those letters. So I couldn't even imagine the nerves and the worry that they went through during those deployments.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that another character that's brought up that I don't think I remembered to include on my slide was the Musgrove's son. He serves under Captain Wentworth, and they sent him into the Navy to get rid of him because he was an absolute pain in the butt. He was the spare. He wasn't the heir to the family. So they didn't, and he was causing all sorts of problems, and he was drinking and asking for money and causing issues. So they shipped him off, and he dies at war. And they're like, oh, good. They're like, oh, our poor baby. But really, like, they weren't really that choked up about it. And when they bring him up to Captain Wentworth's like, oh, he's got nothing good to say about that boy. And so, like, that was an issue also at that time, is a lot of aristocratic families or upper class families would send their kids into the Army or the Navy just to get rid of them if they were being a problem. And that had to have been hard while fighting that war, to have all that dynamics. Not everyone's there because they want to actually defend their country. Some of these people are just sent there because their family wanted them out of the way.
Which is awful, because that was a very dangerous war. Most likely they would not have come back. So to be a mother and to be like, we already have an heir, we already have a son. Yeah, this one is, you know, sparable, which is awful to think about.
Yeah. And so it's funny because, like, when I first read this, I'm like, oh, I love the Musgroves. Oh, this is like, I had one set of expectations for this book the first time I read it. And the more I've reread it, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's kind of complex. That's interesting. So for any of you guys who are watching, were there any characters who you disliked strongly or liked strongly or had an opinion about? Again, I know there's people watching. Not everyone wants to respond in the comments, and that's fine. But if anybody has a comment they want to throw out, we'd love to talk about it. Otherwise, we're just going to keep having fun here. But so then Captain Wentworth comes back wealthy. Admiral Croft comes back super wealthy, end of the war. And a lot of them ended up baronets. Now, maybe everyone might not know this. There's different levels of nobility. The lowest level of nobility is a baronet. And that's what Anne Elliot's dad is. He's a baronet, which means someone paid for that title. That title is not bestowed by the crown just because, and like for great things they've done. It's usually paid for. So it's usually because they've done something recognizable, but they've also paid for it too. And so that means the Elliots, who are these big snobs, they paid for their title. So they're new money. Like, they're not as new money as maybe the Crofts or like Harville or Bennett, like any of these guys, but they're still new money. And so I think it's funny that the level of snobbery between the new money. But at one point, Anne's sister says, well, as long as he's not made a baronet, he's perfect. And I was like, oh, so you guys can pay for your title, but if he pays for his, you know, just like, wow.
I don't know if it's like, oh, but we've had it in our family for so long. I don't know, but that I didn't know that. So that is interesting, that to be that, you know, your nose that high up in the air, even though that's how you got your title.
Yeah. Because like Baron's different. Baron, that's an honor bestowed by the king or the queen. That's a bigger deal. Baronet means you were a successful person who then bribed the king. And it's usually people who are like merchants or stuff like that. Um, so yeah, maybe it's been in the family. Maybe they've been baronets for 2 or 3 generations, so they feel more entitled to it. But
Yeah.
still, yeah, it always made me laugh. I was like, okay. But so anyway, they get to this whole point where she finally stands up. They go through this whole emotional arc where she sees Captain Benwick, Captain Benwick was in the same situation as her and Captain Wentworth. But Captain Benwick wanted to marry Captain Harville's sister. And you would think another Navy family would be a little bit more lenient and saying, well, no, we understand we're a Navy family. You guys can go ahead and get married. But Captain Harville's family said the same thing to Captain Benwick that Anne's family said. They said, hey, no, you've got to go get a fortune and come back. And after the war, you guys can get married. And so that surprised me that the naval family said no, wait till after the war, just like the rich family did, the civilian rich family.
I think it was common though back then, it's not like today where even if you don't have money, you can get married. I think back then it was expected to be able to provide a house, financial stability, I guess. I'm not exactly sure the reasons for that, but that's what I would assume. Because of, if you didn't have money back then, it would be very hard to provide those things for a family, but
yeah, that makes sense. Well, and then so Captain Harville's sister dies and Captain Benwick is crushed. And Captain Harville, I think it's interesting because it feels to me like he feels guilty that he told them no. Because he's like, if I had known my sister was going to die young, I probably should have said, yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he feels like he's got that level of regret there. But
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I don't know. It was just one of those things where I don't know. It just feels like there's so many layers. Like, obviously, Sophia Croft had her family and the Wentworth family has no issues with like, yeah, go ahead, get married, be poor, figure it out. Like, one brother's a clergyman. One sister married an admiral. Well, he was an admiral when she married him, but she liked a naval officer. The other brother is, I think, a school teacher. And then, no, he's a lawyer. Yeah. So one's a clergyman, one's a lawyer. And one joins the Navy of the 3 brothers. And then one sister marries a guy in the Navy. So, and their whole family seems to be more of a, yeah, if you're in love, go ahead, get married. We're not going to hold you back. And so there really were different opinions at the time. And seems to be the Musgrove's opinion is that, oh, young people shouldn't wait to get married. If they fall in love, they should just go get married.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even consistent in the time period, at least from what I'm gathering. What was your take on that?
I could see that. I didn't really think about that at the beginning when I was listening to it. But if you think about their 2 daughters, they did let them kind of love freely. And when one of them had fallen in love with Benwick, they wasn't like a big deal. Like they really could fall in love with whoever they wanted, compared to Anne's family, where there was a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
Who they married.
And yeah, so I think sometimes we look at the Regency era or these different social structures and we think they're very uniform in people's responses and opinions and ideas, but people really had a variety of perspectives back then, just like they do now. I've known people who I have a family member who flat out said, well, I don't want my daughter marrying someone in the military because he's going to die on them. And I'm like,
ooh.
Excuse me, my husband's in the military. We're like, okay. So like these varying opinions on these sorts of things still exist in our culture today. There's still people who feel that way. And that was a surprise to me when I heard them say that. I'm like, you do realize we have military family, right? And like my husband's military. So yeah, it's just, basically it proves everyone has different thoughts and people can think whatever they want. Okay. This is where it might get a little spicy and fun. Have you seen any of these adaptations, Leah? And if so, I want your take. I'm gonna hold my take until you give you first chance.
Okay, I have seen them all. The first one that's on there, that was the version that I had first seen because that was what was out. But the middle one, the BBC version, Persuasion, that is my all-time favorite. I will watch that one over and over again. Now, the Netflix one, I don't like these modern adaptations. Like they try and change, and it's been a minute since I've seen the last one. But I remember there were some things I didn't really like about it. So just because I like the other two are more classic, they follow, the story a lot better. But that's my thought.
No, I agree. The first Persuasion, I liked it. The first one, that's the older one, it's the one was made in the 90s. I think it was good. It's really, really good. Casting is good. Setting, costuming, very true to the story. I just didn't, I don't know. I didn't love it as much. I'm going to admit the BBC Captain Wentworth is a lot cuter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And like, it's funny because he's blonde too, which I thought that was interesting, but he just plays him very well.
He does. And I will give you the slightly shaky cam aspect of the BBC 2001 can get a little annoying, but that is probably my only critique. I really genuinely love it because I feel like they start off Anne's character really does look nervous and uncomfortable and she just doesn't look, but by the end of the movie, her complexion, she doesn't look as pale. She looks, and she's more confident, more assertive. Like you really actually see a visual change in the way that she's being portrayed from the beginning to the end in that one, more so than I feel like you see in the first one. In the first one, the one in the 90s, that one, I don't feel like there was as much of a visual change and an arc for her. I hate the Netflix one.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely loathe and despise it. And I can tell you two main reasons. As a former costume designer, I think the costumes are atrocious. And I cannot stand the fact that they took a genuine, strong female character and made her to a damsel in distress with an alcoholic problem. I'm like, what the crap? Anne would not be in her room drinking wine, like a bottle of wine straight out of the bottle. That is so no. Like they did Anne dirty in that one.
And there was a few lines, and I cannot remember them, but there were a few different things that they tried to, like I said, just too much like modern stuff going in there. And that's like, that wouldn't have been said back then. That would not have been done back then. I am definitely one who likes to follow what it would have been like back in that time. I don't need these little modern twists in them.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, no, hun, I'm good. I'm good. Because, and I don't even think the casting was bad. I think the casting was fine. I think the material, the script was really crappy. They rewrote sections. They changed a lot of the way the internal dialogue is done in the other two is really fitting. Like she's writing a journal, she's keeping those things. You're kind of getting, it's kind of like the Emma internal dialogue concept. But with Persuasion, the Netflix one, it's like she's trying to talk to you as the audience. And I'm like, you don't really need to talk to me directly that much. And like, I don't think I'll ever get over her drinking out of a wine bottle in her room. I just thought, and she's not confident. So the one thing that I love about Anne is even though she's not competent in her decisions, she is a competent person. And you see that in the other two versions. When the nephew gets injured, she steps straight in. She's willing to care for her nephew. She's willing to sacrifice for the family. and all of that. And then when Louisa gets injured at the Cobb, she steps in, she shows confidence and competence. And so it's reliable, like you believe it at with a situation on the Cobb, which is much more severe because you've already seen it in small, simple ways building up. Whereas in the Netflix one, they don't really show that level of competence. And so then all of a sudden she's supposed to be competent and in charge, and you're like, I don't believe it from you.
Yeah. What I was thinking was, yes, she was easily persuaded, but like what you were talking about, she was definitely grounded in her values, in the kindness, duty. And instead of chasing validation, she was showing her quiet resilience rather than bitterness. Like she was just a kind person, and that didn't change throughout it.
Yeah.
And I think Wentworth saw that.
Yes. And it also shows when with her friend who's lost everything, she's like, no, I've got your back. I'm not going to abandon you. You might be broke because you can't access the money your husband had overseas, but I'm going to stick with you regardless of what everyone else does. And that consistency, like you just see over and over and over a level of consistency. And you see Wentworth noticing that too. He's like, oh, she didn't, she didn't change. She wasn't, I didn't misjudge her character. She still is this kind, consistent, straightforward, reliable person I always loved. She just was young and listened to the advice of her family, but now she's not young anymore. And so it's really funny. I love the scene in the shop when they run into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I love that scene. Love that scene so much. When they run into each other in Bath, it's just so cute because by this point he's realized I'm free. I don't have to marry Louisa.
Mm-hmm.
And he realizes it's not until then, because you see that conversation. That's one thing. The conversation on the beach with the BBC version isn't really played out that way in the book. And it's not seen in the other versions where he's having that conversation with Harville, and Harville realizes what he's done. And his buddy is trying to point out to him, hey, hun, I can tell you love this person, but everyone else thinks you love this person. You need to like, you could see that he's trying to like clue him in. And when Wentworth realizes, oh crap, I've misled like Louisa, and I actually love Anne. He's like, what do I do? How do I fix this? He's like, yeah,
Well,
you need to fix
I
this.
can't remember, but he was like, oh, I better be noble. So I think, yeah, like it's just funny how he was that type of person that he would have, because, oh, you let her on. Oh, okay, I'll marry her. So I think he was really relieved when he was like, oh, okay, I can go for Anne.
Well, at first he's like, crap, I'm going to have to marry her. And then Harville's like, wait, or you could get some distance and maybe she'll like someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of me wonders if they're trying to imply in the BBC one that Harville's playing matchmaker. And he's like, I know you love Anne, and I know Bennick is miserable. Get your butt out of here so I can get that Bennick and Louisa interested in each other, and then you can go have Anne. Like it's like Harville's playing Mr. Matchmaker or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Harville, he gets a lot more character development, I feel, in the 2000 BBC adaptation than he gets in some of the other ones.
Mm-hmm. And it's been so long since I've seen these. It does make me want to watch them, though.
So I had the goal to rewatch all three of them this week so they'd be fresh in my mind. And the 90s one, I would have had to pay for, so I ended up skipping on that. I watched the BBC one again, which is why it's so fresh in my brain, and I love that one. I have
the 90s one, so if you want to borrow it.
Ooh, girls' night.
Yes.
But yeah, the Netflix one I couldn't bring myself to watch again. It's just torture.
Don't blame you. I really did not like it at all either.
Yeah. So it's one of those ones where I'm like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. We're just going to pretend. And I look at the movie posters and you see like obviously in love, totally looks like Regency, other again was very Regency, but still kind of more of a modern poster movie. Dude, she's got a bunny And what is that dress? Like,
yeah, black too, out of all colors. Why black?
I know.
She's not a widow.
She's not a widow and she's not in mourning. I'm like, do you not understand like any of the dressing conventions of the time?
Mm-hmm.
Plus the bunny.
And the sleeves being see-through, that probably wouldn't have been, like I said, those kind of things bother me though. That's the kind of stuff that's like, no, they wouldn't have worn that.
Well, and I also just don't get the bunny. Why
Yeah.
is she snuggling a bunny and why is Wentworth not there?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even know what there's symbolism for that because I have no idea what a bunny symbolizes because there's no bunny in the book.
There is no bunny in the book. I'm like, why? Why does the movie poster have a bunny when there is no bunny in the book, people? And the Wentworth they got for that version, he's actually a very attractive guy. I'm like, this is supposed to be a chick flick. It's supposed to be a rom-com. Why the heck is the guy not on there? That's how you get girlies to watch the rom-com. Put
Definitely.
the attractive man on the poster. Anyway. Yeah, that's my little rant for that one. But yeah, so okay, people. Well, that's our hot take on those ones. You guys feel free in the comments to tell me what you guys think about this book, who your favorite character is, who your least favorite character is, why you think we're wrong, why you think we're right, and what movie you like better. Because honestly, everyone's got their own take. I know people who actually don't like the BBC one because the shaky cam drives them nuts. And I get that. But, and then the 90s one is their favorite. I have yet to meet anyone with the Netflix one as their favorite. If they've read the book, it's usually not one they enjoy. So, but maybe you're the exception, whoever you are listening. So let us know in the comments. Maybe you're like, nope, Netflix got it right. And you're allowed to think that. You're all allowed to have your own opinions. Okay. Well, we're going to skip to last thing for right now. Thank you, Leah, for joining us. I'm going to talk a little bit about next month's book. So started this book club. Leah's been gracious to come on and hang out with me for this first one. And I really am grateful for that. I gave you 1 week notice, so you're a fabulous friend.
I loved it.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for being a fabulous friend and rereading this. And you'll go check out those movies. If you guys haven't seen any of those movies, they're watch all three and then decide which one you like best. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinions. This next one, there is a adaptation by Netflix. I think Netflix did a better job with this adaptation, but next month's book, February 7th, is going to be The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. Have you read this one, Leah?
I have. It's been a minute, but it's a good one. And I would actually probably read it again. I read so many books, though, that I forget what they're about. So I'll probably read it again.
Yeah. So no spoilers in this because I'm just trying to let y'all know about next month's book. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society is a World War II era fiction, historical fiction. And it is based, the main story arc takes place, sorry, just a little hiccup there for talking so much. Main story arc takes place just after World War II. However, there are flashbacks or references back to the wartime era. And it covers what happened with the Guernsey Islands, the Channel Islands. The Channel Islands are owned by Britain, but they were occupied by the Germans during World War II. And it's a really interesting book. So I'm not sure how many of you guys have ever read epistolic novels. This is an epistolic novel. So the majority of the novel is written in letters back and forth between all the different characters. And it's really well done. I have read some epistolic books that are meh. This one is fabulous. It is absolutely great. It is very well written. The characters are very well rounded and it's really well done. And the adaptation by Netflix had an all-star cast, like all-star cast. I was showing my husband the trailer for it the other night and I'm like, you got to watch this with me. And he's like, okay, fine. The blonde guy that's in Top Gun Maverick and he was in Twisters, he's in it. A bunch of the Downton Abbey people are in it. Anyway, so read the book, watch the movie, or one or the other, but either way, or don't do either and come join us next month and we'll just have fun talking. So, but yeah, so yeah, next book club is 2:00, February 7th, this channel. Leah, you're welcome to come join us. It might be Leah, it might be other people, but we'll just have fun.
I'm planning on it, so let's do it.
Yes, great. Well, I'm excited. This is going to be an interesting one. There's not any direct military spouses in this book, but it's all war surrounding war and wartime and all that stuff. So I still think there's going to be lots for us to cover. Okay, well, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Leah, for joining. There will be a regular podcast episode coming out this next Wednesday, and Leah's actually joining us for that. This is your guys' fun little introduction to her. Leah, would you like to tell all the wonderful people what you do and where they can find you if they're interested in learning about more what you're doing?
Yeah, I am on Instagram. My handle is Bake and Befriend. Just Bake and Befriend. I just do a lot of talking about, what I'm going through with infertility, adoption, military spouse. And then I also love to bake and read. So I kind of just throw all that in there. So you are welcome to come and find me there. And I would love to have you. So it's very new. Not much of a following, but like I said, even if I just kind of make a difference for one person in their life, that's all that matters to me. So
yeah, and I really will check out her stuff. She does amazing things. I've been watching her book reviews that she's been putting up, and even some of your recipes. There's one recipe I've got to go back because my kids want to try it. They saw I was watching it and they're like, that looks yummy. So my kids want to make it. I don't remember what it was. I've got to go back and look. But yeah, baking, if you like baking books or military stuff, or you're dealing with infertility or adoption or any of that, Leah's a great resource for all those things. So go check her out. I will put the link for your Instagram in the description below. Let me see if I can pull it up right now. Actually, I don't think so. I was going to throw it in the chat, but I can't. You send it to me, but I don't think.
Yeah, I can text it to you again. It's just my handle. It's just the Bake and Befriend.
Here,
just
okay.
all one word. I texted it to you. So
all right.
If you look that up on Instagram, you'll find me.
Okay. So it's Insta. I'm typing it all. So y'all know how slow I type. So. And all right. And okay. Nope, that's not how you spell friend. See this? I promise I know how to spell people. It's just the D and the S are right next to each other. Okay. All right, that should be hitting the chat, but that's if you want to go follow Leah on Instagram. That's where you can find her. Thank you all for coming and joining and just lurking and listening. I love it. Don't worry about it. This is book club. You're allowed to just sit and listen. So, again, next month is, oh, come on, back here. Next month is February 7th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And the book is The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. So there's a book, there's a movie, whichever one. I don't care. Come and join us and have fun. Thanks again, Leah. Thanks everyone for showing up. It's been a pretty good live stream, and we'll catch y'all on the other side. But yeah, go ahead, leave comments below on which version of Persuasion you think is better. We can duke it out politely in the comments. All right. Okay. Bye, Leah.
Bye.
All right. I'm still doing interviews for veterans. So if any of you guys know of veterans who you would like to have their stories preserved, please let me know. And thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. I can't do this without you guys. So thank you for all of your support. Let's be the good we want to see in the world. And as always, I'm your host, Sam Wolf. and you've been listening to Life of a Military Wife, and this time it was book club.
Spouses and veterans, hearts that won't quit, telling the truth about all of it. This life we live is hard and real, giving a voice to the lives that we live. This life we live is warm but strong, and every story deserves its song.